Chloe Bloomer from Danville is the daughter of Michelle Bloomer. She came to Carlisle in kindergarten. She enjoys music and dance. She plays piano and does crafting. She maintains high grades in school and is a member of the National Junior Honor Society. She performs in Carlisle plays and represents her class in the SCA. In addition to her school activities, Chloe is active in the youth group at West Main Baptist Church. For Forum, Chloe unraveled some of the tangled American immigration history and laws. Demaya Martin is the daughter of Pamela and Demetrius Martin of Martinsville. She came to Carlisle in preschool 3. Demaya has 2 sisters, Demika and Shaquika. She is a valued member of the basketball team and the volleyball team. Dancing is an important part of her life. She is in Miss Ann's dance troupe. She dances with the Ray Hollingsworth Dance and Art Studio and is a praise dancer at the New Life in Christian Church. She is also in the Girl Scouts. Demaya has appeared in several Carlisle stage productions. She plans a career in family law. Demaya has investigated the pros and cons of the U.S. Electoral College and has some important insights to report. Please join me in welcoming Chloe Bloomer to the podium.
Imagine you are living in Poland in 1926. There are no jobs available in the country, so money is scarce, and it is challenging for you to provide for your family's needs. This is what it was like for Paul Snigin, living in Poland after World War I. Mr. Snigin was the grandfather of Miss Clara Lee Yates, a teacher at Northside Preschool in Danville, Virginia. Paul and his wife Eva were both born in 1890. Paul was the first to immigrate to America when he was 36. Paul left his pregnant wife and children in Poland. He was invited by his brother, Mr. John Snigin, who was already living in America. John promised he could find Paul work. After his brother got him a job, the whole family immigrated. When they became citizens, they thought that Miss Claire Yates's mother, Miss Hermine Snigin, would automatically be a citizen, but she was not. So, when Miss Claire Yates was a child, her mother, Miss Hermine Snigin, had a history tutor who taught her information about the United States so that she could pass the citizenship test in Roanoke. Afterwards, there was a naturalization ceremony in Richmond, in which she took an oath saying that she was going to be a faithful citizen. After naturalizing, Mrs. Hermine Snigin became a registered nurse at Roman Eagle Nursing Home. She passed away in 2018. The United States has currently about 300 million people formed through immigration, caused by events such as war, unemployment, natural disasters, social disruption, economic turmoil. Immigration is a topic that impacts the citizens of the U.S. on a personal level, affecting generations through our families, friends, cultures, and economics. U.S. immigration laws have been revised several times in response to social pressures, each time causing various negative and positive effects. The immigration is the legal process someone takes who wants to become a citizen in another country, in that country. One reason countries have immigration laws is because it helps set rules to decide who should or should not be allowed to enter their country. Immigration laws also help countries bar certain people. For instance, if someone had a criminal record and wanted to immigrate into the U.S., they would not be allowed to because of their criminal record. Countries have borders to help them control certain areas. Imagine if a stranger walked into your house and made themselves at home without your consent. If they did that, then they would be illegally stepping into your private property. The U.S. Border Patrol is an agency that helps enforce the laws concerning illegal immigration. The first immigration laws were passed during the American Revolution in 1778. It was caused by the Naturalization Act. The Naturalization Act prohibited citizenship of people of color and attempted to limit the spread of slavery. It designated 5 years before one could become a citizen. The residency requirement was expanded briefly to 14 years in 1798, and then reduced again to 5 years. In this federal period, the first American government did not want foreign influence, especially from Britain, to contaminate the new culture. The United States has changed the policies of this act throughout time. Another Naturalization Act was established in 1807. It amended the old rules that were in the first Naturalization Act. It enlarged the individual immigrants' rights. During the gold rush in California, thousands of Chinese people were recruited to build railroads, work at clothing factories, and work as farmers. In 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act was passed. The Chinese Exclusion Act was to keep Chinese immigrants from coming to the U.S. beginning in 1850. This act was made because the white workers blamed the Chinese immigrants for their low paychecks. Ellis Island opened in January 1892. Ellis Island is an island where more than 12 million immigrants go through to get into the U.S. In 1907, the U.S. had more than 1.3 million immigrants go through Ellis Island to get into the U.S. The last person to go through Ellis Island was Arne Peterson on November 12, 1954. Another significant change in immigration rules came in 2012 when the President Barack Obama signed a presidential directive called DACA. This is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It temporarily protects some dreamers from deportation. Dreamers refers to non-citizens who immigrated into America as minors and are not citizens. This directive is under consideration now. In 2018, President Donald Trump started construction on a wall across the border between the U.S. and Mexico to reduce the number of illegal immigrants. On January 20th, 2021, President Joe Biden proposed the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021 to Congress. This legislative bill keeps families together, makes our society bigger, maintains the border communities, supports immigration courts, and vulnerable populations. Immigration laws in the United States have changed several times in response to changing needs and circumstances. Immigration laws are very important to people who come to the United States for a fresh start. Immigration has enriched our country's culture and impacted our society as a whole.
My question for you was, what surprised you in your research?
I guess what surprised me was that there are so many immigrants that want to come into the U.S., especially from the border of the Mexico wall. And there's a bunch of children over there that want to come to America. Also, what has surprised me was that there are so many laws for immigration because it helps keep things in order, and it also helps immigrants come to America and make sure that they don't have a criminal record and that they need certain things. Yeah.
Immigration right now really is a hot topic, and
Yeah.
you touched on it with the children now with the border. And my question actually relates to that. How do you personally feel at using your research about the thousands of children that are coming across the border? Any idea about how that's impacting what you feel after your research?
In my opinion, I feel very sort of surprised on how there's like a bunch of kids over there that want to be in America, but they don't have their parents with them, and that is just very shocking to me. That how their conditions are over there.
We will now welcome Demaya Martin to the podium to discuss the pros and cons of our Electoral College.
During the 2016 election between former President Donald J. Trump and former Senator Hillary Clinton, there was an unusual situation with the voting. Clinton won the popular vote with 65,853,514 votes, while Trump had 62,984,828 votes. Clinton did win the popular vote, but Trump won the Electoral College votes with 304 to Clinton's 227. Trump became the president of the United States in a way that some people said was unfair. Fair or not, it is perfectly legal under the United States Constitution. The Electoral College is a system the United States uses for choosing president. Our founding fathers developed this system in 1787 because they did not trust the people to elect a good president every time. The Electoral College has become controversial as some presidential elections produce one winner in the popular vote and another winner in the electoral vote. Proponents claim that it forces a truly national election, not one just of the big cities, while critics want the Electoral College abolished. The Electoral College is a body of people that represents a state in the election and formally casts votes for president and vice president. The number of electors that each state gets is based on the population and determined by the census. California is our biggest state, so they have the most with 55 electoral votes, followed by Texas with 38 and then Florida with 29. There are 538 Electoral College voters. They equal the number of senators representatives. The candidate running just needs 270 Electoral College votes to win. The U.S. Constitution has some restrictions when it comes to who will become an elector. No senator, representative, person holding office, or profits under the U.S. can become one. Any official who rebelled against the U.S. or given aid and comfort to our enemies is disqualified. The Electoral College begins with choosing two slates of electors. First, the political parties in each state choose electors. Second, when the election is held, voters select one of the sets of electors to actually cast their votes for president. Most states use the winner-take-all approach, so whichever candidate wins the popular vote wins all the electors from that state. Maine and Nebraska do not use the winner-take-all approach. Instead, they use the congressional district method. Those two states allocate 2 electoral college votes to the state popular vote winner and another to the congressional district winner. The National Archives and Records Administration makes the records for the presidential election. In December, they're meeting for electors where they cast their votes for president and president. That vote is recorded on a certificate of vote and sent to Congress where the votes are counted. On the 6th of January, each state's electors' votes are counted in a joint session. Then members of the House and Senate meet in the House chamber to conduct the official electoral votes. Whomever wins the presidency then takes the oath and is sworn into office on January 20th. The Founding Fathers developed the Electoral College because they knew smaller states with less population still have their voices equally valued compared to larger states with more population. They cannot just go with the national popular vote because it provides no chance to prevent corruption and minority rights. They came up with the Electoral College. Should the United States keep the electoral system? Well, pros and cons. It protects our country in case voters choose a highly inappropriate candidate. It also limits voting fraud and contains the election, which decreases the likelihood of having to have multiple nationwide recounts unless the candidate requested. Ms. Lorelei Manning, upper school U.S. history and world history teacher at Carlisle School, said that abolishing the Electoral College is not a good idea because different states do different things for elections. And it would be very hard to keep an accurate count and hard to keep everything under control. She mentioned that candidates know where the people are and would just go to those big populated states, and those states would just take over the election. Some Americans think that it would be better if the popular vote decided on who president should be. 48 states use the winner-take-all approach. 70% of voters get ignored because of that approach. States with 3 or 4 electoral votes are at the most disadvantaged because those states are non-competitive and allows the election to be decided on a handful of bigger states. A lot of citizens feel that the system is not necessary anymore because problems like winning the popular vote but not the election or vice versa happens. It happened to George W. Bush in 2000 when he lost the election. These same problems also occurred in 1824, 1876, 1888, and 2016. The George Bush vs. Al Gore election was a very close call. Bush had 246 and Gore had 250 votes at the end of election night. Bush had a chance to win if he won Florida. Because Florida was unclear and resulted in multiple recounts, the case went to the Supreme Court. On December 8, 2000, the Florida Supreme Court ordered that the circuit court sort by hand 9,000 ballots. Bush filed a request for review and sought an emergency petition for a stay in the Florida Supreme Court's decision, and the Florida court granted the review. It is against the Constitution to have a recount in just one city, and there was only a recount in the city of Miami. So, because of that problem, the case had to go to the Supreme Court. There was an argument that the recount was unconstitutional because the Florida Supreme Court had made a new election law that only the state legislature can do. The Florida court violated the Equal Protection Law, but did have respect for the belief that a constitutional recount could be fashioned. So Bush won the election while Gore received 48.4% and Bush received 47.9% in popular votes. Because Bush won the electoral votes, he became the 43rd president of the United States. The Electoral College has been around for about 234 years. It has avoided problems and even caused some problems. Many elections have been difficult while others may have been unfair. The Founding Fathers did not just think of this system for nothing. They were very wise men who made a difficult system that the states would have to continue to work with. Maybe if they trusted the people, the voting system would not be so difficult. The Electoral College may not be perfect, but it may be the best option for the United States currently.
The topic has been heavily debated, and as you indicated, there are pros and cons. Which way are you leaning?
In my opinion, I feel that we should not abolish the electoral system because states like Virginia, North Carolina, West Virginia, we wouldn't have a voice in the election at all because they would just go to those big populated states or cities and get their votes instead of ours because we wouldn't matter at all.
What was the most interesting thing that you have learned throughout the form process when it comes to electoral colleges?
Maybe that so many people do get ignored because of the approach we use and how presidential elections, you can win the popular vote but not the electoral vote and still win the presidential election.